Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Last Call Baseball, number 151. I'm Dorian, and this is your favorite Miami Marlin podcast. No, it's really not. Why? I don't even like the Marlins, and I'm always talking about them, and this is why. The Marlins don't look good. I genuinely feel bad for the players and their manager, Skip Schumacher. Or Shoemaker. I don't know. Am I thinking about Michael Schumacher? Anyways, Skip, the manager of the Marlins. Last year, he was voted the National League Manager of the Year. Awesome job. He led the Marlins to a surprise run into the playoffs. And they said, dude, you were the best manager this year. Awesome. Fast forward like 6 months. The Marlins traded their best player about 2 days ago, the second baseman, Luis Arias. The Marlins' record now is 9 wins, 26 losses. Last night, they lost 20-4. They gave up 20 runs to the Oakland/Las Vegas Athletics when the Athletics exploded for they did score 10 runs in the bottom of the third inning, and the Athletics scored 10 more runs, which is insane. And I saw the Marlins extensively in a series when they went to go to Atlanta to play the Braves, I think a couple of weeks ago. My impression of them was that it didn't seem that the players were always hustling, especially on defense, and I can't blame them. Imagine this happened to you. You've been promoted at work, awesome, high five, drink bubbly, go out with your loved one for an amazing dinner, etc. A few months later, the company says, by the way, we're going to downsize and we're going to let you go, just to let you know, so you're prepared. How much effort are you putting into your job day to day? Come on, really. You're going to be spending all those days doing nothing but sending out your resume to other job applications. That's it. You're getting paid for another job. And that's what's happening to Skip Schumacher, or Shoemaker, to Skip. We already said that. His name is Skip. Bruce Sherman, in his unknown eternal wisdom, the owner of the Marlins, decided to avoid Schumacher's option years, meaning the Marlins had the option to keep Skip for at least another year, maybe more. I mean, this guy led your team to a playoff appearance when no one thought it was going to happen. He wins that awesome, beautiful award that will forever be on his mantle, the Manager of the Year 2023. Skip knows he's gone after this season. The players know they're gone. And think about it from the players' perspective. They're like, this dude who did a really good job last year, he's not coming back next year. We just saw the best player get traded. Am I going to even be here at the end of the year? So all around, mediocrity is permeating through the Marlins. And I genuinely feel bad for them. At the end of the day, they're professionals. They know what they're doing. But man, you can't blame them when you see some lackluster performances. Speaking of performances, the Atlanta Braves, my team. Before I get into them, I'm going to read you some numbers. 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 2. Those are not the winning lotto numbers from Saturday night. Those are the runs that the Braves have scored over their past 7 games. You're not winning a lot of games when you're averaging 2.7 runs per game. And yes, baseball is 7,327 games in a season. It's only 1 week. But the Braves have played some pretty good teams this past week. The Cleveland Guardians, the Seattle Mariners with their awesome pitching staff, and now this weekend, the LA Dodgers. If you're scoring under 3 runs against playoff caliber teams like that, again, it's the beginning of May. We still have 13 months to go before October. But this isn't the historically big, bad 2023 offense that the Braves had last year. I mean, Marcell Ozuna started pretty hot. He's been banging for about a month. In his first 27 games, I think, he hit 9 home runs. If we do simple third grade math, that comes out to a home run every 3 games. But he also hasn't hit a home run in about a week or so. But up until about a week or so, when Ozuna came up to bat, I'm like, this dude, it was expected. You know he's going to get a big hit. You know he's going to get a home run. Or at least he's going to drive in a runner so that the Braves tack on another run. He's been a monster the first month. Last week, not so much, but he's becoming something special. And the first baseman, Matt Olson, man, he is struggling. His batting average is well below 200 now. And he's not, obviously, first baseman is not like a premium position. And so there's only so much value you can give him. I'm not saying we're going to give up on Matt Olson, but this guy hit over 50 home runs last year, and he's on the struggle bus this year, the first 6 weeks of the season. And you look at it, Ronald Acuna Jr., at least he provides better value with his glove in right field. And when he does get on base, whether it's through walk, a hit, etc., he steals base. Everybody knows Acuna Jr. is going to go to second base when he gets on first. Everyone knows, and he still manages to swipe bases, and he's second in the league right now with 14 stolen bases, only behind Elly De La Cruz with 19 stolen bases, and De La Cruz plays for the Cincinnati Reds. One more thing I've been watching over the past few weeks is I've been watching a lot of Texas Rangers games. And my big takeaway is every single time that the rookie Wyatt Langford comes up to bat, the TV announcer, whether they're the Rangers the home team feed, whatever, or the visiting team, they always say, Wyatt Langford is struggling. I'm a paraphrase here. Wyatt Langford led spring training with the most home runs, and he has yet to hit his first professional home run. Calm down. Wyatt Langford's a rookie. This time last year, he was playing for the University of Florida, and they went all the way to the College World Series championship games, basically, against LSU. He did such a phenomenal job last year as a draft. When the Rangers drafted him, he shot through the minor leagues, and he's still a rookie. But good news for Langford and all Florida Gator fans out there. He actually hit his first home run, an inside the park home run, just last week against the Cincinnati Reds on April 28th. And I'm like, slow clap, amazing, fantastic, congratulations. But people are still going to say, people are still waiting for him to hit that ball over the outfield wall for a, air quote, real professional home run. Guys, he's like 22 years old. The young man is going to be just fine. And I also haven't just been watching, obviously, Major League Baseball over the past 2 weeks. I've been on a massive college baseball kick for the past few months. I managed to see the North Carolina Tar Heels play at North Carolina State Wolfpack. Long story short, the Wolfpack won that weekend series, but I didn't see all 3 games. I saw one game of that series, and this is the second time I've seen the Tar Heels in person. And both times, the Tar Heels put a 14-3 clobbering on the Wolfpack. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you my impressions of the stadium. Doak Field at Dale Park. It's on campus it's on the North Carolina State campus, and it's nice because it's a nice stadium, and it's also, I like that it's like tucked away in between a bunch of administrative buildings. And when you go in, they have like some sign that Doak Field is going to go through renovations, which is awesome. Just like if you have a house, you have to change the roof, you got to paint once in a while. The one thing I didn't like, the beers were like $15. The beers at a college baseball stadium were $15. That's outrageous. And no, I'm not going to drink Coors Light or whatever disgusting domestic beer was being sold for. I think it was $10 or $12. No, I'm going to pay the premium for the $15, but it's outrageous. A few weeks ago, I was like complaining that the Lone Depot Park charges you $17, and that's a Major League Baseball stadium. I understand. The renovations at Doak Field have to be funded somehow. You're not pushing the envelope. You're going way over the line. I'm happy to buy tickets, buy concession stuff, beer, whatever at these college baseball programs because I think they're important not just for baseball fans, but also the communities that they're in. I already said my piece about the beer, but maybe next time I'll just buy some disgusting mass-produced tap water that they bottle and put in storage for like 12 years. The last college baseball game and stadium that I want to talk about is when BYU went to play the Hurricanes in Coral Gables. And I had the pleasure to actually meet Dr. Julian Rivera, who was our special guest on episode 87. He was the athletic trainer for the Hurricanes baseball program. Nice enough to like to show me around the behind the scenes to see some of the facilities. They have a beautiful baseball only gymnasium. What is this gymnasium? Gym, weightlifting room, and also in another building just behind Mark Light Field where the Hurricanes play is the performance building where they have the indoor batting cages, and it's just filled with all the amazing metric computers and software like TrackMan. And I'm like, those are major investments from the college baseball level, because most of those type of metrics and software are in the minor leagues and obviously major league stadiums. But the fact that college baseball program like UM has that is reinforces what a historically important and great program the Hurricanes have been over the past 40 years. What about the stadium? I've heard for years about the famous Mark Light milkshakes. And I was like, I'm here. I have to have a Mark Light milkshake. So I went. The menu is probably about 20 milkshakes. And I decided on one called Grandma Debbie. It's a vanilla shake with magic brownies. I'm going to tell you, it hit the spot, and it was as good as advertised. If you find yourself watching the Hurricanes and wanting to see some good ACC baseball, order a Mark Light milkshake. It's definitely worth it. And surprise, surprise, I didn't drink any beers at the game, even though I saw the prices and they weren't as expensive as the beers at Doak Field. But the next time I go, I'm definitely going to have a beer at Mark Light Stadium. And the Hurricanes won that game. And look, they're having a down year in the ACC, but maybe they can make a run in the ACC tournament. I don't know. I'll definitely be checking out more Hurricane games. My last bit about college baseball is a lot of these players are getting good educations at good schools, and they're all dreaming about playing in Major League Baseball. And speaking of making it to the big leagues, our next guest tries to ensure that those professional baseball players stay healthy during their careers. This week, our special guest is Robyn Cohen, Pilates and Mobility Coach for the Cincinnati Reds. Robyn, welcome to Last Call Baseball.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Robyn, this is an eternal question for me. Where do you stand on showering before working out?
Oh boy, I did not expect that to be the first question. Where do I stand? I like to be a clean girl. I like to go to bed clean. I like to work out though first and then rinse off. That seems like, if you're going to get dirty, why not get clean after? Doesn't that make the most sense?
I'm giving you Zoom hand air claps or whatever it used to be, because that is the only correct answer. If I go to the pool, if I go to the beach, wash off. You don't have to be in there like, rub a tub for 30 minutes, but be clean, because I want to respect myself. I want to respect my potential workout partner. So you're not, stinky. So
Well,
I
I'm glad
agree
I
with you.
passed this test.
I'm teasing, but I am a big proponent of I think you had more or less said like washing off and being
100%.
clean, even when you're gonna go get sweaty and stinky.
Hygiene is key. I work with bodies all day long. I really appreciate good hygiene. Right there with you.
Reach. And speaking of bodies and working out, as I mentioned, you're the Pilates coach for the Cincinnati Reds, and I have two questions in one. Number one, what is Pilates? Because when I think of Pilates, when I see Pilates, my perception is you have to be thin, female, and most importantly, a social media influencer. And how did Pilates and you enter the baseball world?
Okay, loaded question. Well, have you recently seen the SNL skit about Pilates? Because if you haven't, I
No, I
urge
haven't.
you
I
and
have to
everyone
YouTube it, I
else.
guess.
They did such a great job of making fun of these stereotypical women that are in Pilates classes, or women that are 9 months pregnant, getting their leg up behind their head like it's a piece of cake. So, what is Pilates? Pilates to me is a form of movement where you're elongating your muscles, you're not bulking up, but you're also working the smaller intrinsic muscle groups. So if you're in the gym working out, you're technically utilizing the larger global muscles. So you are shortening those muscles. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's just they are a nice complement, a nice marriage to each other, because Pilates does help not only tone you up. I'm sure there's so many buzzwords too when you're talking about Pilates and influencers and things like that, but it helps prevent injury because you're working those smaller stabilizers that don't get paid a lot of attention to, which generally and we can't stereotype, but women have an easier time connecting to those muscle groups. That's why if you're in a group class, you might see a lot more women. However, that stereotype is changing. I feel like there's a lot of different diversities of men and women and all ages in Pilates classes now. And going back to the influencer thing, if you looked at my Instagram page, I have 0 videos of me doing Pilates. That is not something that I'm promoting in that way or showing off. I use my social media more as a fun way to connect with people and to promote the travel I've done or the food that I love to eat. Okay, and then your next question was, how did I get into the world of baseball, correct?
Right.
I would say it was accidentally more than anything. Being in the right place, the right time, and not knowing that you were meant to do something until you're actually in it. I was a professional dancer, and Pilates was a way of paying my bills, my side hustle, my money that I needed and required to pay my bills when I was not able to obtain a gig, essentially. But Pilates seemed to also go hand in hand with dance because it is a form of movement, and movement is an expression. Or I'm a big believer that, like, why I love to move is I'm moving my emotions through motion. That's kind of how I fell in love with dancing. It was a way of expressing myself when I didn't feel like I had the vocabulary to be able to express it through my mouth, if that makes sense. But years down the line, I'm working in a Pilates studio, and a lot of studios in Los Angeles, while they might have changed at this point, Pilates is a form of rehabilitation and physical therapy studios. So I was able to work under physical therapy professionals as an aide. I'm sure that the laws might be different now. I'm not sure what the legalities are at this point, but so I was able to learn a lot about injury prevention while getting educated through their university at the same time. I was paired with a player from the Dodgers, Jock Peterson at the time, and he fell in love with Pilates. And again, right place, right time. I had so much fun working with him, and it went so well that he started to bring in the head strength coach at that time and the president of operations. So I was doing this trio in off season as his form of movement alongside many other things that I'm sure he was also working on. But I chalked that up as a really fun time. I really enjoyed working with athletes. I was more used to working with rehabilitating patients. So, but then the Dodgers enjoyed my work, and they started to sprinkle me into their rookie camps, winter ball, and then spring training. And that's kind of how I started to establish a small role there with the team. And then fast forward to 2019, they did a trade with the Cincinnati Reds. And it was a couple players that I've been working with heavily. As a contractor, I was not bound to one team legally, which is, I guess, the little silver lining of being a contractor. And my then Dodger boss urged me to go spread my wings and see if maybe perhaps the Reds would also want me to help them as well, knowing that they'd both be in Arizona. So I reached out to one player in particular, and he was able to connect me with his assistant, which was then able to connect me with, at the time, the head strength coach of the Reds. And they happen to actually have a reformer lying around, which is the apparatus that Pilates uses. But no one was using it, and it just was being underutilized. But it was such a gift to know that apparatus was available to me to utilize. I didn't have to bring in any equipment. And so I was able to double dip essentially in 2019 in both spring trainings and help both teams. It's a long-winded story. And then the Reds really fell in love with what I had to offer. And they basically asked me if I'd be interested in taking on a more of a full-time position. Mostly only home games was discussed at that time. But it was kind of like a scene out of a movie, because they asked me to come up with a number and give it to them at the end of the day, saying you'll work 84 home games, you'll be fed 2 meals a day. When the team leaves, you can be a lady who lunches, which is not who I am. But I was scared because I had been in LA for 13 years. I developed a clientele. Everyone wants to work for the Dodgers. But this was a better, more established role. And I think I was just ultimately ready for a change in many ways. And I tend to have the motto that if something scares me within reason, I'm going to open that door of fear and step right through it. Because generally, when you're on the other side of it, it's not that scary. And you are so capable of more than you actually realize.
I like
Yes,
that.
please chime in.
Yeah, no, I like that Jock Peterson changed both of our lives because he was your unknowingly into Major League
Yes.
Baseball, and I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. So when he was traded in the summer of 2021, he brought, I didn't know he was doing Pilates, but he's brought his Pilates body, and most importantly, his white pearl. I don't know if he was wearing that when you were working with him, but that became a big hit in Atlanta. That, and then there was actually even one game I remember, like towards the end of the 2021 season, where the stadium giveaway was a replica, obviously, of his white pearls that he would wear. And that year, the Braves won the World Series. And I'm not the only one. There's no way the Braves win the World Series without Jock Peterson on that team. So
Well, you're welcome.
thank you. Now I met the woman who changed him, who changed the Atlanta Braves.
Well, changed him maybe temporarily. Who knows if he's still doing Pilates? I hope that he is, but hopefully I touched his life in some way at
I
that
hope
time.
so too. And you were talking about the reformer machine, which is the Pilates machine.
Mhm.
And it made me think, when you went to Cincinnati, were the Reds guys using the reformer machine like people do at home with like their Peloton bicycle and just using it as like a towel rack?
Basically, it was collecting dust. I mean, it was beckoning to be utilized.
Well, they thank God, yeah, thank goodness they brought you in, yeah, brought them in, they brought you into their professional lives. I,
Yes.
and you mentioned earlier about what you like to use your Instagram account. I noticed that, I think it was in the Instagram or somewhere else, I read that you are also like or maybe you still do Thai yoga. I don't know much about Thai yoga. I want to ask you about it. I love Thai massages, and on your Instagram, I've seen that you have a couple of pictures of you like, I don't want to say like wrestling, but like body moves or walking on some dudes or whatever. And I'm like, I love Thai massage. I love nothing more than a little Asian lady walking all over my back and like just pulling your leg in all this awesome position, because I love the stretching part of it. And so what is Thai yoga versus like the yoga that, I guess, again, more popularly that we see and then sometimes even practice?
Good question. So, Thai massage versus Thai yoga. Generally, Thai massage is where there are railings above the woman of whatever ethnicity, right? Where she's holding onto the railings and being able to support herself by walking on you for balance. So, physically standing on you is part of a Thai massage. Very similar techniques. I'm not standing on anyone. I am Cirque du Soleil on someone where I am kneeling on them. I am balancing on one knee. I am using literally all appendages. You are being rocked, kneaded, twist, rotated, stretched. It's almost as though yoga, physical therapy, massage, some chiropractic, and yeah, like lazy man's yoga. They had this love child, and it's 90 minutes, so I work on the body from head to toe, but it's this kind of rhythmical dance in a way, which is, I think, why I also fell in love with it. It's very,
So it's like assisted yoga. So when you go to a normal, not a normal, but I guess again the more popular yoga practices, everyone brings their mats and then follows the instructor. But you're actually, it's more hands on, for lack of a better word. Is that what you're
yes,
saying?
I am
Okay.
moving and stretching you, but there are massage elements where I'm working on the person's neck. There's acupuncture points in the face to help move the lymphatic system around. And again, I'm digging in with my elbow, my fingers. I use my feet. So sometimes it feels like there's four hands on you because I might be pushing my foot into your hamstring while I'm pulling it back with my hand. And yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's generally the consensus when someone finishes their first session in Thai massage was they look like they are high as a kite. They are in outer space, and they generally say they enjoyed it more because it's a little more interactive, and you're fully clothed. That is also the difference. The only oil I'm putting on a client is when I'm working on their neck, just so that we're not abrading the skin. But I do ask for long sleeves and pants, because when I'm pressing into the body, I definitely don't want to feel like I'm sticking to their skin, and that's not pleasant for them either. There are techniques too that almost feels like a cat, like where a cat would knead and paw. So yeah, it's this out of body experience I think that everyone should experience if they have 90 minutes in the budget to do so.
Yeah, that the first time I ever heard of Thai yoga is obviously when I was like looking up. Yeah, you're on your Instagram page. You have that. I was like, that's really interesting. I've never heard it because I've heard of hot yoga, other types
Right.
of yoga.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just an unusual type of body work, and I'm so grateful that I get to incorporate that with the Reds as well. That not only am I able to offer them yoga if that's something they're interested in, or Pilates, we could do a strength training program, we could do a mobility program, but then we can also calm down their parasympathetic nervous system and relax them into a massage-like state.
I feel like you're in your element when it comes to baseball players because much like the baseball players that you work with, on a week to week, month to month basis, they make their living with their mind and their body, and you as well are making your living with your mind and your body. Other people have to go to offices and maybe they want to be more physical as opposed to like, oh my God, I have to get to the gym at 6 a.m. or squeeze in the gym before dinner.
The body with the mind and the mind with the body, and how we're both, which is I've never thought about it that way. It's a really good point. Most of the time I'm walking around barefoot too, or just in my socks, and some of my coworkers still laugh at the fact, but I'm just like, I have to take off my shoes anyway to do some Thai yoga on someone, so why not keep them off? Why not feel the floor?
And the last Venn diagram of that, the way I see it is you also perform because as you had mentioned, I also read up that you did your bachelor's or undergrad in like jazz dance performance. You've been in music videos
Mm-hmm.
and you perform just like these baseball guys. They have to go out 6 nights a week to go and do their job. I want to stop right there with the music video. I'm always fascinated to hear about other people's experiences. By the way, I haven't been in the music video. I've been in other type of like TV production.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience and that you were a part of?
Well, the tie-in, even like what you were comparing to with using my body and my hands and how they have to too. A lot of show business feels very similar to baseball. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and get your work done. Wait, we might have a rain delay. The camera might not work. We didn't get the angle right. But be warm, be ready to go. Like at the drop of a hat. We got to pull this pitcher out. We got to put it in the relief pitcher. So while I'm not in the show anymore, it does feel very similar in nature of the fact that you are at the beck and call of the higher ups. They are at the beck and call of MLB. I was at the beck and call of the director choreographer and needing to change something instantaneously to make work for them. But music videos are really fun. It is a long day to get 2 minutes of goodness. Some of my most favorite music videos were actually working with Zoe Deschanel. She's a lovely human. The choreographer at the time was also very fun, and it was kind of throwback dance moves, and during one video, which was fun, they were looking for more volunteers to fill in and for this crowd to do this one dance together. So I dragged my brother into it, who has no dancing background experience whatsoever, but every time, and it's not like I watch it often, but I'm like, oh, there's my little brother in the back. So it's fun, but it does feel like a world and a lifetime ago at this point.
I completely agree with you because I wasn't in music videos. I was an extra in a bunch of television shows, and I found it so boring. And exactly that. You're there for 10, 12 hours, and
Yeah.
it's the same. Like this would, like but just more for other people. You would be doing this conversation scene for 3 hours. You take a break, everyone goes to lunch, and I'm like, I can't believe people actually dream of being an actor or an actress. I'm like, this is one of the most boringest jobs I've ever come across.
A lot of patience required, and especially if you're being physical, a lot of just making sure that your body is ready to go. But yeah, I cannot say that I missed that world. It was fun in my early 20s, but
But that was a really good connection there. You had said that the Hollywood or the entertainment industry is like baseball or any other sport you want to say, not every sport, but specifically baseball, because you don't really have weather delays in ice hockey or basketball or even football. I mean, unless it's like an earthquake or hurricane, in football, they're going to play through anything.
Correct. I mean, we were recently in Philadelphia and it was pouring rain for 3 days. But on our last getaway day, we thought for sure the game was going to be banged, and it wasn't. But it was originally slated for, I think, a 1:10, moved to a 4:10, moved to an 8:10 p.m. But the guys are just laying around all day, not knowing when to get hot, how to stay warm. So I feel like while you cannot control the weather, that's just asking for an injury to happen too. Can't always help.
And speaking of injuries and preventing injuries, I always remember where I read many years ago now that LeBron James, the NBA super duper star, he spends something like $1 million on his body every year, whether it's like sleeping, nutrition, eating, what have you. And your body is your instrument. The baseball players that you coach and help them go through, their bodies are their instruments. And I remember you had said earlier about Pilates is more on not the technical part, but they're working on the smaller flexible muscles. Especially when you're younger, you always look up to your sports heroes or whatever. You're like, I want to do what they do. Like, I want to drink Gatorade because Michael Jordan does. I want to do Pilates because I'm a big baseball fan of some of the players that you've done. How would how would you tell someone who's interested is like now that if they hear this, they're like, wow, I had no idea these guys doing Pilates. How would you tell someone who's interested in Pilates, but like, how is that when someone may think like, how is that going to help me? Because obviously I don't need to be hitting 400-foot home runs.
For sure. Well, I think ultimately I'm a big believer in finding movement that brings you joy. So for the longest time, I was not interested in lifting weights. That sounded hellacious to me. But now I love to pick up heavy things and I can't wait to see if I can go heavier. So I think it's really person dependent on, well, what's the harm in trying, right? To see if you might enjoy it. And if you do, why not continue on? But outside of that, if you're looking for just more of the basics as to why it can help you outside of strengthening those smaller muscle groups, Pilates is also really entertaining. You're generally never going to have the same workout unless you like doing the same meat and potatoes all the time, then it might not be for you. But so it's almost like a Sudoku for your brain, or if you're a crossword person or connections, New York Times person, you're being challenged daily with Pilates because it's a lot of listening. You can't turn off your brain. There's a lot of cueing, imagery work that the instructor should be providing you. And it's a balance challenge because while you might be moving your arms in a standard bicep curl, you might be in a proposal stance, one leg forward, one leg back on a moving device where you have to stabilize your lower half and your core just to make that movement effective and stable. So it's not just for baseball players, it's for all walks of life. I think the key tagline that most people say with Pilates is that Pilates is for everybody, like every body. Anyone can do it. But again, I think it's a matter of, does it bring you joy? And if it doesn't, don't do Pilates.
That's a good point. Speaking of magic and joy, I don't know if you said magic, but speaking of joy, I noticed that you spent a lot of time in Arizona off your Instagram. We're not doing private detective stuff here. What is the magic of Arizona? I haven't been, but I'm noticing more and more people spending more time in Arizona and people doing like destination weddings in Arizona. What's up with Arizona?
Well, I think Arizona became, this is going to be like pun intended, a hot spot once COVID happened and a lot of Angelinos fled to Arizona. Definitely a cheaper situation. And you still get the nice dry heat. Arizona has a lot to offer as far as hiking goes, good food. My parents live in Sedona, Arizona, which is the vortex of happiness, the hippies say. There's just something energetically that is really, to sound very woo-woo, about nourishing, about being there, that can bring a lot of emotions out in you. But if you have really bad allergies, Arizona will also bring those up in you too.
I'm raising my hand. I'm actually going to go see an allergist very soon. I have very bad allergies.
Yeah, the allergies in springtime in Arizona can hit hard. So, but springtime there is lovely because you're getting 70-degree weather and there's nothing better than that. I think the hottest it got maybe was 80 by the time we left. So it's
In the
nice.
summer?
Well, no, in springtime.
Oh, okay.
In the summer, very hot, 100 or above.
It'll keep that skin nice and smooth, that complexion real nice. A lot of exfoliation. Mother Nature's own exfoliation.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna have to try it. Well, no, because it's desert. In the winter, it's gonna be cold. In the summer, it's really hot. And as you just said, in the spring, the allergy. So I might have to go in the fall.
That sounds like the right plan.
I love traveling, and obviously you travel with work. You've lived in lots of places across the U.S., especially when I go travel either for like I said, for work or even to go in to see baseball because I've been loving. Obviously, I love Major League Baseball, but I've also been getting into minor and college baseball. If we were to find ourselves in Cincinnati, to obviously take a class with you, and then secondly, go watch a couple of Cincinnati Reds games. But
Check.
to nourish our body, what's some places that you like and you enjoy going to for food, drink, coffee in the Cincinnati area?
So we do Italian and steak really, really well here. But when it comes to healthier options, we do have some slim pickings. That is one of the major things that I really miss about fresh fare from Los Angeles.
You mean Cincinnati Skyline chili isn't good, but pre-workout?
I'm almost ashamed to say this, but I've never tried it. And I get a lot of eye rolls when I share that information. No, it's probably not. It might very well be delicious, but I'm sure my stomach would be torn up if I ate that. But my favorite restaurant in Cincinnati is called Abigail Street. It is Mediterranean food. I feel like they're always busy, but it kind of flies under the radar because we have these two major restaurants, three technically. Jeff Ruby's, it's a steakhouse, which is great. Soto and Boca, which are right next to each other, and it's amazing Italian food. But Abigail Street is so good. The hummus, I just want to dunk my entire face into that pile of hummus. The baklava, they have grilled octopus if you're a fan. Falafels to die for. It is just so good. They're fattoush. So that would be my go-to pick. Like if you're coming to Cincinnati, sure, go to Boca, Soto, and Jeff Ruby's, get you some steak and pasta, but also hit up Abigail Street. Coffee is tough. There's a lot of good coffee here. Mom and M is really good. They actually come into our clubhouse. They set up their little coffee cart a couple times a month, which our dietitian sets up for us, which is such a great perk to have. Delicious coffee. But honestly, I make a lot of coffee at home. I just invested in a really nice little system to feel like I am getting the most out of my latte at home and saving some money in that way.
I'm more of a tea drinker, but I was just I asked the coffee question because I think more Americans drink coffee than they drink tea. No, I lie. There was actually a study that came out about 10 or 15 years ago that Americans drink the most tea in the entire world. And then in Britain, they were up in arms because they said Americans do not drink tea. Americans drink, because in England, you really only drink English black tea.
True.
Pinch of sugar, splash of milk. But in the US, we drink like orange Camille, green leaf, brown worm, like
We're
whatever. Just the most ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always ask the coffee thing. But my thing, you had said you invested it in a coffee system. I only have a French press, and that's only for guests or like family that I know that drink coffee. I'm like, all right, I have my coffee, I have French press, and they enjoy it. I mean, it does the work. And I'm not offering Maxwell coffee or whatever. No offense
Please
to Maxwell
don't.
if they're listening.
Please do not.
And speaking, you had said that you guys were just you and the Cincinnati Reds were just in Philadelphia a few weeks ago with the weather and all that stuff. And I think you had gone to school in Philadelphia. Another place, Philadelphia, phenomenal food, but known for very unhealthy food. The steak, what is it? The steak cheese, steak and the what?
Steak frites?
No. The cheese.
Oh, cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
Yeah.
I've been to Philadelphia a bunch of times. I genuinely think the best food city in the country, Los Angeles, then New York, Philly, somewhere in the top 5, maybe even top 3. Phenomenal. But I haven't had the steak, the sandwich. What is it called again?
Philly cheesesteak.
Philly cheesesteak, and I haven't had Skyline
Chili.
chili.
I'll just keep filling in your blanks.
Yeah, but Philadelphia is great. Oh my God, I'm sure. I hope that you had a good time being back, or even had time to explore your old stomping grounds, because I think Philadelphia is a great city. Period.
It is great. It was unique exploring it as an adult, because the last time I was there was when I graduated from college, and I wanted to go back to my old stomping grounds, but a lot of them had shut down. So much has changed. So I, as an adult, went to Rittenhouse Square and sat at some lovely cafes, had some really good Italian food, great wine, went to a French bistro one morning. So it was fun exploring it as my older, more, defined palate self.
I had some amazing Korean food in Rittenhouse Square. And then I went to go to explore. I don't know why we're talking about Philadelphia now, but anyways, and now there's that new community. Well, not new, but regentrifying, whatever. Northern quarters or
Or is it Northern Liberty
Northern
or
Liberties? Yes, Northern
something?
Liberties,
Yeah,
and then like the next neighborhood over, Fish Kill or something with a kill and a
Fishtown,
seafood.
maybe.
There you go. Awesome. And I love the last part about Philadelphia. Almost the entire city, BYOB. I mean, I don't know if you like having a drink, whatever. I
Oh,
love having a drink here and there. Anywhere you go, you bring your bottle of wine,
I
you bring a bottle
missed
of
that
bubbly.
nugget. I would have
Fantastic.
definitely enjoyed that. Because I do travel with a lot of wine on the plane. I am a coffee and wine snob. So
Well, thankfully, I don't know if you guys already went out to Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys are going to go back out, because now with the Major
no,
League Baseball, the more equitable schedule, I don't think you guys are going to go back out. But
we are not. But we do have a nice West Coast trip coming up to San Francisco, Arizona, and Los Angeles. So I will be eating my way through.
brilliant. I am very happy for your tummy. And I'm not in a tummy because I'm sure it's very flat because you're a Pilates instructor. Robyn, I want to thank you for your time, but I also want you to share with us where we can potentially find, I don't want to say your work, but where we can find you on social media or any other gym information that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, so social media, my business handle is The Ritual with 3 underscores. And also my just personal account is Robyn_Cohen. And I also have a website, pilatestheritual.com, where you can preview my services or what I have to offer in my own studio here, should you be in Cincinnati and want to test me out. But yeah, that is the best way to kind of find me.
One final question. You had said earlier, I think you had said earlier, you love dogs. What are your thoughts on Bark at the Park? And is Dogga ever going to take off? Dogs and yoga or something like that. Is it called Doga? Dogga? Dogs and yoga.
I know about that. But Bark in the Park, I always get upset because I always forget that it's going on. And I would love to bring my dog there, especially for a photo. I'm very attached to my dog, Whiskey. He's going to be 5 in August. He's a light and joy of my little life. He's my studio manager, supervisor. I take him to work with me. He greets my clients with love and affection. He's the sweetest. I know we're all biased, but he's such a happy dog, and then goes to his bed and supervises the session from there. And then if I do a Thai yoga massage, I always pull out a weighted blanket toward the end and lay it on my client. And he just knows. He's like, oh, blankets come out. I'm going to go lay on their pelvis now and calm them down even more. He knows the word done. He knows when I'm spraying down the mat. We're all biased, right? But he's smart. I don't know about dog yoga. They've got goat yoga, so why not having a dog climb on my back as I'm in
I'd
downward
never heard about that.
tabletop? Who knows? Goat yoga. Oh yeah, it's a thing. So I'm all for it. I feel like dogs are one of the best things on this planet. They provide such unconditional love, and they are so happy to see you. And no matter how potentially bad of a day you've had, you can put it all aside when they greet you at the door.
Thanks to Robyn Cohen for joining us this week. And you know she's in shape. The players in the Cincinnati Reds are in shape. Show of hands. Who else is working on their summer bodies? I am. And you know the best way to show off your summer body in a few weeks? With some podcast merchandise. We're bringing you something no one asked for. Last Call Baseball now has women's and men's t-shirts available online in different colors, different sizes, and different styles. The link to the t-shirts are going to be on this episode's show notes and is already on our Instagram page, Last Call Baseball. If you find yourself at a stadium and you see some dude with a Last Call Baseball t-shirt with the podcast logo on the back and the Last Call Baseball name on the front over the heart, basically, over the left chest, it may be me. And I also may be drinking while I'm watching college baseball in person, minor league baseball in person, or Major League Baseball in person. But when we meet, I don't know what I'm going to be drinking. But for this episode, I've been drinking a beer called I Want to Ride My Maibock. It's spelled M-A-I. I Want to Ride Maibock. However it's pronounced, it's a Maibock style lager from a good American local brewery called Crank Arm Brewing in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let me tell you about Raleigh. I'd never been there before. And this specific brewing company is in a perfect location. It's about a 5-minute walk from the Amtrak station. The city as a whole it's cooler than you think. It's very artsy, which I'm a big fan of. I love art. And a good North Carolina beer is a wonderful thing to drink when you're getting beaten down by that North Carolina Southern sun. I want to thank you for listening to Last Call Baseball. Be great and get home safe.